Once upon a time, Dwayne Petty and Sandy Fugate cook up a passionate romance at a food factory.
I had never seen her so happy before in my life. Just made her happy, and you could see it.
They were a fantastic couple together.
But 2 days before their wedding, their future together hits an unexpected expiration date.
Possibility of murder is just, it doesn't happen. That happens to other people.
I can't get the picture out of my head.
The most traumatic, heartbreaking, horrifying thing.
For this couple, the honeymoon is over.
What's up, Panic Fam? I'm Hannah. And if it's 2 a.m., the lights are off and the popcorn is gone cold, you know, it's Panic TV time. Welcome. If you survived this, and this, congratulations, all right? Congratulations. But your luck runs out here.
In Hannibal, Missouri, 32-year-old single mom Sandy Fugate models her wedding gown for her mom, sisters, and closest friends. Her first marriage didn't work out, so she's delighted to have a second chance at true love.
I hadn't seen Sandy that happy in a long time. She just had the glow in her eyes. She was all excited. She was ready to spend her life with him.
She was like, it's real. I'm really getting married. This is really happening.
The groom-to-be is 40-year-old single dad Dwayne Petty. Like Sandy, his first marriage failed. But now he's finally found the perfect woman.
Dwayne was looking forward to marrying Sandy, and he felt that this was a next chapter in his life.
He's rugged but quiet, the gentle complement to the bold extrovert Sandy.
She said that he was like a big cuddly teddy bear, and she could just snuggle next to him all day.
Despite only dating 6 months, the two are anxious to become a married couple and find the happiness they thought they'd lost forever. But just 2 days before the wedding, they become a couple in crisis. Dwayne's out of town at an appointment and calls Sandy's mom, Mary. He's worried because Sandy isn't answering her phone.
And he goes, well, I'd appreciate it if you would go over and check on her. I said, well, yeah, I can do that. That's not a problem.
She's surprised the front door is open.
Sandy?
So I walked around the house hollering her name, and I wasn't getting no response whatsoever.
She sees the basement door ajar, and her mother's instinct kicks in. Something is terribly wrong.
I just had this weird feeling. I finally reached the bottom of the stairs.
Sandy?
And turned around the corner, and there my daughter was laying on the ground with blood all over her.
It's Sandy! Oh, God.
Mary calls 911, begging them to come quickly. She then calls Dwayne to break the horrible news.
Dwayne?
He's stunned and starts racing home. All alone, Mary stays beside her beloved daughter and prays.
She was cold. Blood everywhere.
This is a traumatic event for anyone to witness, but especially the mother, the one who brought this child into the world and raised her and loved her.
It's hard to connect the terrible scene with the vibrant girl she gave birth to. Sandy grows up in Hannibal, Missouri. With her mom and sisters, they're a loving family of strong women.
She was always a happy-go-lucky person. Her personality was just outgoing.
She's a natural-born leader and jokester.
Sandy was the life of the party. All of us kids looked up to her. We wanted to be like her. She was an amazing sister.
She always had an open heart to anybody, no matter if she knew you or not.
At 19, she marries her high school sweetheart and gets a job at a local food processing factory with hopes of becoming a mom soon. But sadly, 2 years later, her first child is stillborn.
It was just real rough on her, but she didn't really let it show off to everybody. She still let everybody believe that she was still living her life and wasn't going to give up until she had another one.
And she does the next year when she's blessed with a beautiful daughter she names Hannah. But the pain of losing the first baby makes the high school sweethearts grow apart, and Sandy and her first husband divorce after 4 years. Little Hannah becomes Sandy's entire world.
She was a very good mom. There wasn't nothing that Hannah went without. If she needed something, Sandy made sure she got it.
Being a working single mom is tough, especially when she's promoted to night shift lead. But Sandy finds support in a small group of girlfriends at the factory. She loves and relies on them as much as her own sisters, even if she is their boss.
Myself and others over there, Sandy, Missy, pretty inseparable. Some of the employees, they weren't too big on us going to break together. They had issues with that. So then they started calling us the Sisterhood.
But the Sisterhood doesn't mind the jealousy or the nickname. They are sisters.
The bond we had together in our support system was, it didn't matter who was in trouble or who was hurting, we were all there for each other.
I just don't think I'm ever gonna find a guy, you know?
Support from the Sisterhood is one thing, but Sandy longs for a connection with the right man. She gives online dating a whirl, goes on a few dates, but nothing. She wants to wait for the right guy, the type who understands she and Hannah are a package deal.
Hannah was Sandy's life, so she was definitely wanting somebody that was going to take care of Hannah and her, love them both.
When it seems all you do is work and clean the house and steal moments of fun with your family, like dressing up your baby in your old gown, it feels like you may never meet Mr. Right. But still, Sandy has hope.
She wanted to find her true love again.
Across town, Dwayne Petty grows up an only child, a good old Missouri boy raised with solid Midwestern values.
Real small-town person like everybody else, you know, just laid back.
He enjoyed bowling. He enjoyed working on cars.
In high school, he falls for a pretty girl named Katrina. Unfortunately, that first love doesn't last.
By the end of high school, it was broken up, and, you know, he took it hard.
Not long after graduating, he meets a new girl, and a few years later, he finds himself at the altar.
Dwayne eventually fell in love again. He had 2 kids.
But the two fall out of love and divorce. The single dad does his best with the kids on the weekends they're with him,
Hey, Dad, can you help me out with this?
but hopes one day he'll find a partner to share his family and his life with. Tough to do in a small town, especially when you're as busy and as introverted as Dwayne.
The woman he was looking for, you know, had the same kind of interest he had, you know, which was just an average life, you know, raising children, bowling, having just a night on the town.
Fate then steps in to connect the two lost souls when Dwayne gets a job at the food processing factory in Hannibal where Sandy works. Pretty soon she notices the handsome new guy on the warehouse floor. Dwayne is the strong, silent type, a southern gent, and a little mysterious.
He was pretty down to earth, easy to get along with type guy. He could always make you smile, you know, crack jokes with you.
He was very sweet.
Some of the busybodies raise eyebrows at his shift lead being so chatty with a worker. It's the same jealousy Sandy has dealt with since she got promoted.
Well, there's always those people who wish that it was them who had gotten it because they deserved it more than she did. But I knew that she would be fair.
Soon, the factory gossip mill churns out rumors of a torrid affair.
After a day or so of this going on, Sandy and 𝙀🐬 thought it would be funny. They said, well, if it's a rumor, let's make it true.
After a night shift, they decide to get breakfast together. It's a lark, just to give the gossipers something to talk about.
What are you doing? Stop. Take him up, bacon.
Playing along with the work rumors by saying, oh yes, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, we are dating, actually gave the two of them some space to get to know each other.
But unexpectedly, it's not all for show. They actually feel something powerful, an exciting, romantic spark.
She tells me she had the best day she's ever had in her entire life. She was smitten.
Their love story was just beginning. Now, 2 days before their wedding date, that fairy tale has come to an abrupt and bloody end.
When police arrived at the scene, they found Sandy in a pool of blood, having been shot twice in the chest and twice in the head.
I asked the officer, please help her. And he looked at me and he shook his head no. She was gone. There wasn't nothing he could do.
Mary's world is shattered. 𝙀🐬 can't get home fast enough. And poor Hannah will be devastated forever. In this small town, the mysteries and the pain are just beginning. Sandy Fugate and 𝙀🐬 Petty are just 2 short days away from a wedding they always dreamed of. When suddenly, the bride-to-be is found shot to death in her basement. Told of the shooting, 𝙀🐬 races home from an out-of-town doctor's appointment. The tragic news races through the small town and hits loved ones like a shockwave.
My mama called me. Just all I could really get out of it was Sandy and a pool of blood. So I just took off running.
When I first called Kim, she just said she's dead. I was asking her who, and then she told me it was Sandy.
This was not just a bride being murdered in cold blood. This was a crime that affected an entire sisterhood. All these women were pieces of that bride.
Sandy's family and her sisterhood friends from work, even her ex-husband, rushed to the crime scene. It's a stunning heartbreak. Who could have walked into Sandy's home and blasted away every dream of happiness she'd ever had?
The initial theory by police officers was that there was a burglary that had gone wrong and ended up in a homicide. And there was initial evidence to kind of suggest this. The door was open, which would explain how persons could gain access to the house.
Police processed the crime scene, looking for any evidence that points to who might have slipped in and killed Sandy. 2 hours later, 𝙀🐬 arrives, desperate to hear that his beloved fiancé is going to be okay. Unable to fully comprehend what everyone is telling him.
He tried to keep going back in the house. The police department kept trying to hold him back.
Sandy's loving sisterhood wrapped their arms around the devastated groom-to-be.
I was just grieving with 𝙀🐬, letting him know that even though this tragedy happened, you're still family. You know, Sandy loved you that much.
I ran over to him and gave me a great big hug. And he said, our girl is gone.
How could so much grief follow so closely on the heels of so much happiness? Six months earlier, 𝙀🐬 is falling hard for Sandy and for her little girl, Hannah.
really stepped in and showed Hannah love and everything. So yeah, Sandy did fall in, pretty quick.
She was finally getting back to that family life that she always wanted for her and Hannah.
The mellow guy loves his Spitfire girlfriend.
They were a fantastic couple together. They balanced each other out well, where he was more serious and she was more silly and free-spirited.
The more time she spends with Dwayne, the more she feels confident about their future together.
Sandy had finally found love. She had found that thing she was looking for, that missing piece, and she found it with Dwayne.
A month into their dating, the factory gossip mill starts working overtime, buzzing that Sandy and Dwayne are engaged. But this time, the rumor was planted by the future bride herself.
Actually, Sandy is the one that started that one. She decided that it would be funny to give the factory people something else to talk about.
She goes, well, she said, we wanted to see how quick it would get around that we are engaged now. And she said by morning, Mom, it was already through the plan.
Sandy flaunts a fake ring she got from a bubblegum machine and gushes to everyone.
Sandy was getting a mix of people asking her, is it real? Are you really doing this? And then she got some that would say, congratulations, we're so happy for you and Dwayne.
It may be out of a bubblegum machine, but she was actually sending very clear messages to Dwayne about what she wanted. You better put a real rock on that finger.
Dwayne is no fool. He gets the message. Though they've only been dating for a month, he swaps that fake ring for a sparkling diamond. Sandy's over the moon, but some of her co-workers aren't.
Folks were kind of resentment to that because even though they didn't work directly with each other, he was involved with one of the bosses and had a connection up there.
Sandy starts to feel real tension from some of the factory workers. And even though Sandy's 100% sure about Dwayne, her friends and family can't help worrying about the fast track their relationship is on.
Everybody's like, they're jumping into it awful fast. They just started dating.
But when your friend has been looking for love for so long, any reservations you yourself have, you just put them aside because your friend is so happy.
Sandy can't wait to begin planning their special day.
Sandy was so thrilled, she rushed to the keyboard. She wanted the whole world to know about her joy. She wanted everyone to see how happy she was, that finally she was engaged to a man that would create the perfect family that she'd always dreamed about.
When she changed her status to being engaged online, everybody was congratulating her with these big smiley faces.
But now, there will be no more status updates from Sandy. Those smiley faces have turned into unimaginable sadness for everyone who knew her.
Murder is just kind of the farthest thing you think. It was heart-wrenching. I think my legs kind of gave out from underneath me because that's just not something you're expecting, and to be so blindsided by that, it's pretty hard.
Examining the crime scene in the basement, police recover 4 shell casings. They're from a .22 caliber rifle. Sandy had been shot twice in the head, twice in the chest. The shooter wanted to make absolutely sure she was dead. But the rest of the house is undisturbed, strongly suggesting that the initial burglary theory doesn't add up.
No evidence of a struggle is really evidence in and of itself, because it suggests that the person may have known their killer.
Investigators test everyone, including Dwayne, Sandy's mother, and the ex-husband, for evidence of gunpowder residue that anyone discharging a firearm might still have on their hands. The samples will take time to analyze, so police ask for their alibis as well. Mom explains she was watching her grandkids. Dwayne says he was out of town at a doctor's appointment. and Sandy's ex claims he was at work. All seem like easily corroborated alibis, but each one must be thoroughly investigated.
Police started looking at family members, exes, close friends, everybody that they could just examine, talk to, and eliminate and go through all that processing.
As authorities work tirelessly to find Sandy's heartless killer, the answers to this mystery will lie in a startling betrayal and a hidden agenda.
Ugh, I swear my neighbors think I'm probably getting murdered right now.
When sweet mom and bride-to-be Sandy Fugate is murdered just 2 days before her wedding, the crime scene suggests she wasn't killed by a stranger.
So the police logically started looking at individuals who knew the victim to see if there could be some sort of a motive.
In the first few hours, police asked Sandy's loved ones to come in and give formal statements. In the waiting room, the groom-to-be, �10🸫, collapses with grief.
Dispatch, I need help in the lobby. It just seemed like out of nowhere, he was just having this panic attack.
His heart rate was up a little bit. They called an ambulance for him.
When �10🸫 gets to the hospital, doctors ask police to delay talking to him. The stress could put his health at serious risk. First Sandy dies, and now �10🸫's in the hospital. A couple ripped apart forever. When just months earlier, they were planning the ideal way to start their life together with a big, happy wedding. It's not the first for either, so they want it to be perfect.
She's going to make it work this time. She's going to make it right this time.
The doting groom arranges a fabulous Cancun honeymoon and helps with the big day decisions.
To me, �10🸫 was pretty involved. What the cake was going to be like, the colors of the wedding, who was going to be there.
He would look at the magazines with her, and he was excited.
He just wanted her to have whatever she wanted for the wedding.
Sandy hops online time and time again to share news of her impending wedding day.
She posted stuff online about how happy she was. It was a little gushy.
Once they finally set a date, she did the countdown online. Every couple days, she would update, the countdown, how many days, hours that she had left until her big day.
Now the pressure's on to finish the guest list.
�10🸫 decided to reach out to people from his past. He invited his ex-wife, a couple friends from high school.
They both were able to reach out to people online that maybe they hadn't talked to, so it was an even happier occasion because now they were getting to see old friends.
It's going to be so great. Everyone's coming together to celebrate their day. A few weeks after proposing, �10🸫 leaves for a bowling tournament out of town, still excited about the upcoming celebration. But when he returns days later, his enthusiasm seems to have dimmed.
She knows he was acting a little weird, off and on, but she was just basically thought maybe it's just wedding jitters.
Could the nervous groom be getting cold feet?
She thought maybe there was some teasing going on, that he'd been married once before and it didn't work out and they were just giving him a hard time.
Sandy decides to ignore it. After all, she's a little overwhelmed herself, planning a wedding while being supermom to Hannah.
Sandy was nervous, but excited nervous. It was almost time. It was almost here.
It may be happening kind of fast, but this is no thoughtless rush of passion. After having both failed in their first marriages, Sandy and �10🸫 take their commitment very seriously and begin premarital counseling with a local pastor.
You're gonna fall into �10🸫's arms. I got you.
They're both determined to make sure this union lasts.
They seemed really into each other, and they seemed really comfortable with each other. Like, they've been together for a while. They were in it for the long haul and in it to make a marriage.
But now that long haul has been cut shockingly short. Sandy's slain while �10🸫 was away. Police continue their investigation to determine why. Several hours after being sent to the hospital, 𝙀🐬 is released and can finally talk to detectives. They've confirmed he was out of town when Sandy's body was found. Now they need to know who might have wanted to harm her. Could it have been one of her bitterly jealous co-workers?
The police knew that jealousy could have been a motive because there was a lot of people at work that disapproved of Sandy's relationship with 𝙀🐬.
There was a lot of jealousy, but 𝙀🐬 has no specific names of people he thinks could be envious enough to commit murder.
I can't think of one person that doesn't like her.
He has no leads for police. But while continuing to interview family and friends, the name of a possible suspect suddenly emerges. Roger Boyle, whom Sandy met when she tried online dating. After flirting a little online, they met in person and went on a few dates. But when Sandy got serious with 𝙀🐬, she told Roger she had to end things.
Sandy had let him know, hey, I'm with 𝙀🐬, we are engaged, we are getting married. And this guy, he was pretty upset about it.
Roger's bizarre response? He proposed to her. She realized how strange he was and asked him to leave her alone.
Just seemed like he didn't want to let Sandy go.
Roger kept reaching out to her, determined to win her back from 𝙀🐬. Had he tried to rip her from 𝙀🐬? By killing her? Some think so.
I thought maybe he could have been the one, that done it.
Investigators need to track down Roger and question him right away.
They did find him and question him, and he had to prove, where he was at that day.
He insists he was at work at the time of the murder and gives them names of co-workers who can corroborate that.
He had an alibi that checked out and everything. They investigated it and found out that it wasn't him.
It's been 24 hours since Sandy was murdered, and the most promising suspect to date has turned out to be another dead end. But a mystery woman is about to emerge from the shadows. And her story will expose this tragedy for the evil nightmare that it is. The day after the murder of Sandy 𝐸𝐸𝐺𝐸, her fiancé 𝙀🐬 and other loved ones have to summon the strength to make funeral arrangements when they should be preparing for a wedding.
𝙀🐬, which one of these dresses do you want Sandy married in?
A panic attack has already sent the devastated groom to the hospital.
I think she'd like that.
Will the grief of this terrible turn send him back?
𝙀🐬 was very emotional. When we were planning with the funeral, he was still grieving that he had lost his soulmate.
When he finds a photo of his late bride-to-be in her gown, it's just too much.
And broke down, started crying. Oh, I didn't need to see this. I really didn't see this.
He was visibly upset. He was crying. This is the beautiful bride. Look how beautiful she was.
In their search for her killer, police have ruled out Sandy's possessive ex. And they haven't been able to ID a co-worker whose jealousy might have prompted the murder. Detectives dig deeper into the couple's history, hoping someone can think of details that might have seemed too insignificant to mention before. They learn that although the wedding planning started well,
Finally figured out what shoes I'm gonna wear for the wedding.
What are you talking about?
Look!
Absolutely not.
𝙀🐬 surprises everyone as the date gets closer by suddenly rejecting almost every idea.
Us girls had decided that we was gonna wear flip-flops instead of high heels. He instantly turned it down. No, they will wear heels or they won't be in the wedding.
We decided that we wanted to do like a choreographed dance down the aisle. That was not happening.
Our wedding.
In general, wedding planning can be very, very stressful for couples, but this is a good step for them to learning how to negotiate stuff.
Yet Dwayne doesn't seem interested in negotiating.
End of story.
And he was always so agreeable before. Is this wedding jitters or something more sinister? Sandy tries to shrug it off.
She just wanted to let it go. She didn't want to start a fight.
The couple continue their premarital counseling.
I asked them if they are sure that they want to go through with this, and they were both very adamant that they did want to be married.
And I believe what I see in the two of you. I think the two of you are ready to become man and wife.
The pastor gives his seal of approval.
Congratulations.
But it seems someone else is very upset at the idea of their union. Within weeks of the wedding, Sandy discovers a creepy note. What is going on? She should be getting wedding cards, not this. Is it from one of the co-workers who've been against the relationship from the beginning, trying to scare her off? She decides not to tell Dwayne or anyone else, refusing to give her jealous tormentors any sign that she's intimidated. On Easter Sunday, the couple has dinner with her family. It's supposed to be bonding time. The wedding is right around the corner.
Dwayne, my mom asked you a question.
But Dwayne seems a million miles away.
Dwayne would have his quiet spells, but that day he just seemed like he was a little more quiet than normal. Like he had something on his mind.
Then, over the next 5 days, more notes arrive. 1 per day, each more threatening than the last. This shadowy writer orders her to walk away from Dwayne or else. She wants to believe they're just empty threats from bitter colleagues at the factory. But Sandy can't silence the tiny voice inside her that's saying these notes may be from another woman, a woman who wants her man. Sandy starts analyzing his every move.
She's noticing that he's not home a lot. He's a lot different than what he has been and very distant.
Is it possible he's having an affair, even as they're about to be married? It doesn't make sense. She can't believe her doting fiancé would ever be unfaithful.
He seemed like he was so in love with Sandy, he'd never cheat on her.
Sandy never tells anyone, not even her sisters, about the threatening notes.
Maybe she wanted to have a fairy tale wedding, and nothing was going to stop her from that.
Sandy tries to push her worries about her fiancé's attitude aside during her final dress fitting with her mother, sisters, and friends. But the truth is, she's brimming with anxiety.
Those of us that really knew Sandy, you could tell there was something bothering her.
On April 14th, 3 days before her wedding, Sandy finally confides in her maid of honor, Shauna, about Dwayne and his odd behavior.
She asked me if I thought Dwayne may have been cheating on her. And I'm like, Sandy, no. I said, he loves you, way too much. It's really bothering you that bad. I said, maybe you should say something, to him, bring it up to him. She's like, no. She said, you're right. She said, it's just the wedding. I'm just nervous.
But less than 24 hours later, the bride-to-be will draw her last breath. Then, the day after the murder, detectives receive a stunning new tip.
A phone call came into the station from a woman who said that the police needed to speak with Katrina Stone, who was Dwayne's high school sweetheart, and she may know something about the murder.
Detectives bring Katrina in and ask her about Dwayne and Sandy.
And at first, she denies everything. She has nothing to do with it, is what she tells him. She knows nothing about anything and is just keeping quiet.
But the more she talks, the more she stumbles.
Because we need to talk about Sandra 𝐀𝐭𝐫.
And it's soon crystal clear. Katrina Stone is hiding something.
She was doing everything she could to avoid talking about the subject.
But she's about to deliver one final twist that will break everyone's heart all over again. Investigating Sandy Fuggate's murder, detectives interrogate Katrina Stone, the high school girlfriend of Sandy's fiancé, Duane Petty. They ask if she's had recent contact with Duane.
Katrina's stories became increasingly inconsistent, and this was a red flag to investigators that she was being untruthful with them.
They grill her for hours. Finally, she breaks down with a startling confession.
We have been having an affair for a while.
They reconnected online around the time Duane and Sandy got engaged. It began as online flirting, then turned sexual. But there's more.
I didn't do it.
Who did it then?
I'm pretty sure that he did.
She says Duane told her he shot Sandy. Then he made Katrina get rid of the gun. She threw it in a river.
And I can show you the gun case.
The case is the right size to fit a .22 caliber rifle, like the one used to kill Sandy. And Duane's fingerprints are all over it.
As soon as Katrina implicated Duane, the police moved very quickly and located him and placed him under arrest.
They charge him with first-degree murder.
What are you doing? Why are you arresting
He denied any knowledge about the murder, and he swore that he was innocent.
The news of Duane's arrest comes as a complete shock to Sandy's loved ones.
No one ever thought that Duane would be capable of doing that. In our minds, he was excited. He wanted to marry her.
I lost it. I couldn't believe that he was in my home that morning, helping me plan everything. He acted normal.
During the trial, prosecutors pieced together the whole sordid tale, with Katrina as their star witness. Katrina testifies that she and Duane began their sexual relationship in February, the weekend Sandy thought he went to a bowling tournament. She says Duane wanted to leave Sandy. He'd rather be with Katrina. But he was worried he'd lose his job, since she was his supervisor at the plant. He thought if he broke off the engagement, she'd string him up on sexual harassment charges. So the lovers tried to scare Sandy into calling off the wedding by writing and sending those threatening notes. When that didn't work, Duane decided the only safe way to get out of marrying her and keep his job was to kill her.
If you could slap one character for their dumb decisions, who would it be? Huh? Go on. Vent in the comments. I can't wait to read.
The plan was for him to shoot her and make it look like a botched robbery. On Easter morning, they waited for Sandy at home. Duane planned to kill Sandy, then have Katrina shoot him in the leg to support the robbery story.
But we can't.
But then, Katrina could not go through with it. Once it became real, she could not deal with the horror of it and stopped him. Later that day, Duane had to go to the family gathering with his bride still alive and well.
That's why maybe he had that blank stare like, I don't even need to be here. I could have killed you this morning. I could be doing whatever I want to do right now.
Katrina thought the incident had also discouraged Duane from the idea of murdering Sandy. But prosecutors argued Duane decided to make another attempt to kill Sandy. Early on April 15th, Dwayne sent Katrina a chilling text. Then he lured his wife to the basement of their home.
Sandra, come downstairs. I need your help in the basement. Could you come down here?
Yeah. Where are you? Dwayne?
Back this way.
Where are you?
Over here. This way.
In this moment of terror, there's her groom, the man who was supposed to bring her happiness, pointing a gun at her face. This level of betrayal is unimaginable.
After the murder, he picked up Katrina and drove with her to a doctor's appointment to establish an alibi. Then he ordered her to get rid of the gun. She was so afraid of him, she followed his orders. He then called poor Sandy's mom and made her find her baby.
It's one thing to be so evil and such a sociopath that you can murder the woman you're engaged to. But then to set up her own mother for the emotional turmoil of discovering the body of her child. Completely heartless, no compassion, no empathy, maybe even a little pleasure at the idea.
Katrina insists she deeply regrets the tragic choices she made and blames it on being blinded by love. She was charged with tampering with evidence, including the murder weapon, and is awaiting trial. Dwayne Petty is convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole for killing his fiancée.
Dwayne's perception of this was that he had no voice and he had no ability to stop this wedding. We all know he could have easily stopped this wedding. He had to just break up with her. In some strange way, he felt like he had to kill her in order to get his own freedom. It's tragic.
If only this selfish coward had possessed enough courage to call off the wedding.
If he would have just done that, she would still be here. Should have moved on.
I hate him. I've never hated so much one person as I do him.
He didn't just destroy one life, he destroyed many. And he took away from something that we're never gonna get back.
But a part of Sandy lives on in her young daughter, Hannah. To this day, Sandy's strong sisterhood of family and friends surround her with love and protection.
I want her daughter to know how much she loved her.
Be honest. Did you watch the last scene through your fingers? Comment yes or no.
Oh, every time we see her, I tell her how much she looks like her. And make sure I let her know that Sandy was a well-loved person. I mean, and Hannah knows that. Hannah knows that she had a good mom.
The belief that she's gone is just so overbearing. To this day, I still wait for her to pop in the door. One more hug, one more kiss.